controls. So if you have a 6-month lease or a 12-month lease and your rent is $500, your landlord cannot increase your rent in the middle of your lease. A day later, 6 months later, 4 months later, whatever's in your lease controls. There are no laws that prohibit the amount, but you cannot have your it's illegal for your landlord to try to increase the rent in the middle of your lease agreement. We have had people whose landlords try it, and people will pay it because they don't know. So it's important, you have that lease, you need to read it, you need to be aware of what's in there, because a lot of times landlords will take advantage of your lack of knowledge for some document that you actually signed.
And it's usually fair market rental value, it's what they usually try to charge, but just remember, lease is a contract, and if you contract to rent this property for way above the fair market rental value, then you're gonna be legally obligated to it. So just remember, most people just think a lease of, but it's a contract. So, just be careful about that. But generally, it's fair market rental value is what, we consider reasonable rate.
Yes, ma'am.
So if the landlord says that they want first and last month's rent or deposit in their application, in their lease, and that they can increase the rent at their discretion, but it's in their paperwork, does their lease supersede what you all are telling us? For fair market?
What I said, a lease is a contract. What they generally charge is this is the amount. But if you contract with them to pay, whatever you contract to pay in that lease, that's what you pay. Because that's a contract. What she's saying is the landlord can't, by himself, increase the rent in the middle of the contract, in the middle of the lease. He just said, well, your lease said you paid $1,000 a month. He said, I'm going to $1,200. Some people just start paying the $1,200 because they don't know it. No, for these 12 months I'm here, this lease says $1,000. And so they'll just start paying $1,200 because well, he told me I had to start paying $1,200. No, whatever's in that lease, that's what's governed. That's what I contracted with you to pay was $1,000 a month. That's what I'm paying for these 12 months on this lease.
My consumer lives on Section 8. She works at Goodwill. Her rent's $200 a month. She worked more hours at Goodwill, so now her rent's gone up to $600 a month, a huge jump. Is that allowed to make that leap to $600 a month?
It is. That's income based. Yes, it's Section 8 is income based. I think what 30% of your income, the gross income.
So yes, ma'am.
I think they
Yes, you're correct.
They can.
Did you say 30%?
Yes, they can charge up to 30% of your gross income. So if your wages go up, your rent goes up. That's under Section 8. Yeah.
Yeah,
They got 10 days
moved in,
after they start working.
and then 2 months later, they asked her to sign a new lease for next year, and it was way early. And in my opinion, you can't do that after 2 months, right? And so, I mean, I need to know if you're staying next year or not, so I need you to go ahead and sign it ahead of time. Can they do that?
Well, some landlords do. They will ask you if you're gonna, about 60 days before your lease is up, if you're gonna be moving or if you're gonna stay. If you don't have to sign a new,
But that
you
was
don't.
10 months before.
So
So
it's,
Oh,
they
10
just
months.
moved in and they lived there
Wait a
2 months.
That's crazy. I wouldn't have signed that
I'll
right.
get yourself to that. No, you
Ain't
don't
no
have to
way.
sign it then.
Is she referring, I'm confused because I'm listening, is she referring to a Section 8 lease that was
Just a.
No.
just a
Just
okay,
a regular
oh,
one.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want my property to unlock the bathrooms. We live in a senior apartment community, and bathrooms
Are
are
we
locked.
still having an issue with that?
They're locking the doors. They lock
Did you
the
explain that
bathrooms because
again
they say
for the
that
bathrooms?
People are messing the bathrooms up, the custodial workers don't wanna clean them.
The whole
Bathrooms are locked,
in
you
the,
have to go to the office and
there's
get a
certain
key.
bathrooms.
There's no one that works in the office right now, so they can't get a key, get in the bathroom.
Is it a public?
I'm sorry, we're confused. I'm sorry, we're not in the loop. Are you talking about office buildings?
No, it's an apartment complex.
Can you explain a little bit? We don't know.
In the apartment, because we actually have been working with the situation there. It's a complex, and in the hallways, you have bathrooms. So when the tenants are out and they all can't make it to their apartment to use the restroom, they need to be able to use that floor that they're on. Well, this complex is, for whatever reason, denying them access to those bathrooms. And that is something that we have been working with, and we will get back on that as well. So it's still locked.
Yeah, they still locked.
So why are they locking?
It's locked, I don't know.
They said people
Every time we unlock them,
making them real dirty.
Yes, yes.
So is there a time limit for, after the complaint has been filed by you all, for the landlords to respond? I mean, do they have a year for these people to be inconvenienced and,
You mean under the fair housing?
yeah, to get
So,
you got 2 weeks on the letter, but after you
Oh,
file the
this is-
complaint, how long is the landlord or the owner given to unlock the bathroom door?
the 2 weeks now, just be clear. The 2 weeks is dealing with repairs. Some affecting the habitability, it doesn't apply to the bathroom. So that'll be your so I think she will answer about the bathroom. But generally here on the landlord tenant, I'm not talking about that. If what would happen if the landlord wants to bring a suit against you, if he wants to sue you for something, you have paid rent, you're trying to evict you, or you file a suit against the landlord because you want your security deposit back, you knew you left the place in a good condition, he won't return it after the time due, then you file a complaint with the court, and then they get served. And then generally they have, 7 to 14 days to file, that's depending on what your allegation is.
I want you to clarify, when it comes down to this 2 weeks letter, you stated it's repairs and accommodations, correct?
Not accommodation,
But
repairs
repairs.
only.
Okay, so this letter,
Accommodation come up on the fair house.
okay, so when you submit this letter is basically saying, I wanna break my lease because you have not fixed what I need fixed.
No, that letter's gonna say, you're gonna leave me with no choice but to break my lease if you don't fix these issues here.
So this is a lease breaking tool.
Well, I would say, I wouldn't say, it is a lease breaking tool in a sense, but what it is that I'm putting you on notice, it's a giving notice tool. To say, this needs to be done, or you leaving no choice but to.
No, I want clarification for people to hear you, because people think that they can't break their lease. But there is a legal ramification a legal process by which you can break your lease. So I just wanted it to be clear that, and I'm 100% with the process of being able to break your lease if you're not being accommodated in the,
Yes.
whether it's illegal under fair housing, tenant law, whatever the case may be.
I think, just give me just a second, so I want to be clear about this. So the thing is, it has to affect, like Ms. Truman says, the habitability of the premises.
Major repair.
These repairs that need to be made keep me from quiet enjoyment of my property, of the premises here. I cannot continue to this window won't let down and stuff coming in, and my safety concern, I can't keep living with a window I can't let down. The air conditioner keep going out, it's hot in this house, you
That's
need
right.
to get an air conditioning unit that works. The heating unit won't work in the cold, we sitting here sleeping on 4 blankets. I can't keep living like this. There's a leak in the bathroom up under the sink, water coming out all the time. I can't keep walking in all that water. So it affects the habitability of the premises, and the landlord won't fix it. So what you do, you send them a 14-day notice saying, these things need to be fixed, and list what all you're talking about. And if they're not done in that time, you're leaving me no choice but to try to find some other accommodations.
Thank you for that
You're welcome.
clarification.
I want to give this letter to some of our residents as well, but I know it's gonna create some havoc with the landlord. We're gonna have to be fair. The president said something like this. No, we've had, during those cold months we had, cold winter, we had a lady's heat went out. They told her she needed to find relatives to stay with. We had a lady whose apartment flooded out with sewage. And so she find somebody to stay with.
But did
Stay
she have
with your-
somewhere to move to?
No, stay with your daughter, stay with somebody. She had to find a relative to please let me stay with you.
Would that letter will
They would not put her up at a hotel, they would accommodate them. We have, a building that's, the roof needs to be repaired. Apartments are leaking. Residents are requesting to move to other apartments. They're not accommodating them in terms of letting them move. But the roof has not been fixed.
And also, I would say, jump in here, I would say check and see if this person receives some type of federal fund.
Yeah, it is
And if they
it is
do,
a
then you
property,
contact
so
fair housing on there also,
it's a
because
crack-
those are
It's
issues.
a crack property.
So those, and then if that's the case too, instead of them trying to handle all that on their own, they contact fair housing. Because those are issues that they can probably assist with also.
Well, the residents are gonna be reluctant
those
to do
accommodation
that because
issues.
They
So-
have a fear of any kind of.
So that would come up on accommodation.
Yeah,
No
it's
accommodation
kinda,
issue.
you know, it's like a gentleman just went, I think it was like almost 3 weeks without hot water. And I asked the landlord, I said, you know, put yourself in his shoes. And she said, well, he's not the only one without hot water.
I think because those people, they kind of, they're protected too up under landlord-tenant law. Because, you know, if they can't run the water, then they get some type of remedies on the, what they call a diminution of services on the Landlord-Tenant Act, which the landlord has a duty to, supply that, and the tenant has some remedies where they can sue the landlord, and I think under that, they're entitled to 3 times their monthly rent or actual, damages, whichever is more. And then they might, if this is a federal subsidized housing unit or whatever, they're under the fair housing, correct? For accommodation.
For accommodations, disability related.
Okay.
Do you have something to say?
I actually have a question for you. So on the 14-day repair letter, because we give advice to like do those whenever we get calls, we're not flooding you with just repair letter calls. If they begin repairs within those 14 days but do not complete them, does that renew the timeline?
I wouldn't say it so much as renew the timeline, but I would say if they begin the repairs within those 14 days, then I would say give them a reasonable time to complete them. Cause you don't want them coming there, okay, in 14 days, they coming, they take a panel down and then, you know, like they gonna do something, then 2 weeks later, they still ain't did nothing, so it's another, so yeah, it's just a reasonable time if you give them, they make a good faith effort to begin the repair and get it completed as soon as possible.
Because sometimes, you have to order something from a parts store, and it may not get here in 14 days, but you know that there's a genuine move toward fixing the situation, like a certain stove that fits a certain hole might not be in stock at a Home Depot here in Montgomery, but you know that positive action is being made.
Is there guidance on that? Because like we had somebody with like AC and they had to order a new AC or a new part for that, which I accept, but they didn't want to do anything else other than order it and they was gonna be like 3 months out. So we were, like, I argued and I think they are doing it like a window unit, but it's not the same. So is there any guidance on like what their timeframes are?
I think, it just has to be objective, what is
Okay.
reasonable. 3 months is not, I can't go the whole summer waiting on, so you should either give me a window unit, if not, I'm sorry, I got to move on.
Okay.
Is this letter accessible, electronically? Just in case, you know, we got the paper copy, but
It may be one on the Legal Services Alabama website under the do-it-yourself or the self-help. But you can, we do have some things available on the legalservicesalabama.org.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Alabama Legal Services.
Legal Services Alabama, all spelled out one together.
May I have permission to modify the heading of your letter, to say
They're just a sample.
14-day repair notification letter or something like that?
You can change it how you want, they're just an example. The only thing, you can retype it however you want to do it, they're just an example of giving you a form, you know.
I have a question about the landlord raising the rent. Say it was 600, you was paying 600, and then it went to 1,000. Like, is it any stipulations to how they could do that? Like, if you've been paying 600 for, you've been here 6 years, and they just raise it to 1,000, is that legal? You could just raise, so they don't have to make repairs to your apartment, nothing? No type of updates to your apartment
No,
or
it's
anything?
probably he's been trying to move, I'll be honest, if you know what's in it, and you're gonna change it to that, and you gonna make repairs, I would say, if you can, as I said, sometimes you can't, but if you can, because he can charge for fair market rent, and you'd be surprised how the rent went up since COVID. It's
I know.
ridiculous, it's ridiculous.
I have a question. So the 14-day to mail this in, is there a 14-day common request for accommodations letter? Is that the same thing for accommodations or just repairs? What do you do about accommodations?
For accommodations, what you submitted, the guidelines say.
Submit what?
Submit the request for a reasonable accommodation. You would submit a request. The housing provider can have, I think the guidelines or the joint statement says 10 days, but we usually give about 14 days.
Where do I get the letter? I need help.
It's not really a letter. All you need to do is you can just write out a simple sentence. I would like a reasonable accommodation of whatever the request is, and submit that to. Now, some facilities have a form that they give to their tenants that they can use to request a reasonable accommodation, but you don't have to use their form. You can just, like a simple request, I would like a reasonable accommodation of whatever you want it to be. Make sure it's dated so that you'll know, when you submitted that request, give them a reasonable amount of time. Undue delay is the same as a denial in our opinion. Well,
Undue delay?
Undue delay, so they can't take forever. They have to respond within a reasonable amount of time, say 10 to 14